Love bombing. Love bombing feels amazing at first, and that's exactly the problem. Someone showers you with intense affection, constant texts, extravagant compliments, and talks about forever on the second date. You're suddenly the center of their entire world. It moves so fast you barely have time to breathe. But it's not about you. It's about creating a feeling you'll crave later. Once you're hooked, they pull back completely. They go cold. You start wondering what you did wrong and try to win back the version of them that never existed. That version was bait. This is how emotional control gets disguised as romance. Real connection takes time. If someone tries to build something serious before trust forms, it's not love. It's a performance, and you deserve better. Gaslighting. Gaslighting is when someone makes you doubt your own reality and perception. You remember something clearly and they tell you it never happened. You explain how something made you feel and they say you're being too sensitive. Not to disagree, but to make you question what's real. Over time, you start believing them more than yourself. It doesn't come at once. It's slow. One conversation, one look, one denial at a time. Eventually, you second-guess everything. Your memory, your emotions, your gut. It shows up in relationships, families, even workplaces. The pattern is always confusion, doubt, silence. If they can make you doubt your version of reality, it's easier to control you. So you get clear. You write things down. You trust how something made you feel. You don't need permission to believe your own experience. Triangulation. Triangulation is when someone pulls a third person into a conflict instead of talking to you directly and honestly. Suddenly you hear, well, Sarah agrees with me, or everyone thinks you're overreacting. You're not just dealing with one person anymore. You're up against an invisible team. Because you're outnumbered, your voice feels smaller. You wonder if you're being difficult or wrong. That's the point. They're not trying to solve the problem. They're trying to win by building alliances, shifting focus, making it seem like you're the common denominator. It shows up in toxic families when a parent complains about one sibling to another. It shows up in relationships when one partner involves a friend or ex. You're not just disagreeing anymore. You're defending yourself against a whole narrative. So you say, if you have a problem with me, talk to me, not about me. Silent treatment. The silent treatment is when someone uses absence to control you completely. They don't yell or explain. They just go quiet, cold, distant, unreachable until you give in. It's not about space. It's about power and control. You replay everything you said, wondering what you did wrong. You feel pressured to fix it, even though you're not sure what it is. That uncertainty makes it work. When someone refuses to communicate, you're left guessing. Eventually, you stop focusing on your own needs and start focusing entirely on getting them to engage again. You apologize just to end the silence. You bend, not because it's your fault, but because the quiet is unbearable. That silence becomes a tool. It says, I control when this relationship feels safe, so you stop chasing. You say, if you're upset, I'm open to talking, but I won't be punished with silence. DARVO. DARVO stands for deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. It's a psychological sleight of hand that flips the script the moment when you try to hold someone accountable. You bring up something that hurt you calmly and respectfully. Step 1. They deny it. That never happened. You're making things up. Step 2. They attack you harshly. They go after your tone, your timing. Suddenly, it's not about what they did. It's about how you brought it up. Step 3. They make themselves the victim. You're not the one who got hurt. They are. They act like your honesty is cruelty. Now you're explaining yourself. It turns any conversation about harm into a performance where they play the martyr. You start defending your tone instead of your truth. So you don't take the bait. You return to your point. Accountability isn't an attack. Guilt tripping. Guilt tripping is when someone makes you feel responsible for their unhappiness, as if it's your fault or your job to fix. Instead of asking directly, they take a detour through guilt. You've been busy at work and haven't called a friend in a few days. Instead of saying, I miss you, they say, I guess you're just too busy for me now. I wouldn't want to bother you. Suddenly you feel like a terrible friend. That's guilt tripping in action. At its core, it's about control. They want to influence your behavior by making you feel like you've let them down. It works because no one likes disappointing others. We naturally want to fix things, especially when we think we've caused pain. But you're usually not the real cause. They're using your sense of responsibility to steer the ship. So you pause and ask, did I actually do something wrong? Or am I just being made to feel like I did? White Knight. The White Knight looks like a hero on the surface every time. They show up with answers, concern, solutions you didn't ask for. At first, it feels like they're helping you, but that's only the setup. In toxic dynamics, the white knight doesn't just help with problems. They create the problem themselves just so they can fix it. They stir up conflict behind the scenes deliberately. They chip away at your confidence, then comfort you when you fall apart. They'll tell you someone's turning on you, then offer to protect you from the fallout. They build the fire, then show up with the hose. Why? Because being the savior gives them power. If you didn't need saving, they wouldn't have a role. Their support comes with strings. It's not about you getting stronger. It's about you staying broken just long enough to keep them relevant. Real support helps you rise. A white knight needs you on your knees. Projection. Projection is when someone takes their own feelings or behaviors, and instead of owning them, they attribute them to you without any hesitation. You spill milk, but instead of saying, "Oops, I messed up," you turn to your brother and say, "Why did you make me spill the milk?" That's projection in action. It's a psychological defense mechanism, like playing emotional hot potato, where you toss uncomfortable emotions onto another person. In relationships, someone feeling jealous or insecure accuses their partner of being jealous or insecure instead of recognizing those feelings in themselves. People do this because it protects their ego. Owning up to uncomfortable feelings like jealousy or anger makes someone feel vulnerable. Instead of facing that vulnerability, projection lets them push those emotions outward. It's, "I'm not the problem, you are." So projection is like emotional dodgeball, where you're throwing your feelings at others instead of catching them yourself. Playing the victim. Playing the victim is when someone acts like they're being wronged, when in reality, they're the guilty one completely. They avoid taking responsibility by seeking sympathy through exaggeration, while blaming others for their actions. Imagine someone getting caught stealing red-handed. Instead of owning up, they tell their life story about growing up poor. They focus on how hard their life is. Now the attention shifts from the theft to the sob story. You might hear, "Oh, I can't believe you're mad at me after everything I've been through," or "Nobody ever appreciates how hard I try." Suddenly, you're not talking about what they did wrong because you're feeling guilty for calling them out. It's clever because it plays on empathy. Most of us don't want to hurt someone who seems vulnerable. Manipulators know this, so you hold your ground and stay focused on the actual issue. Breadcrumbing. Breadcrumbing is when someone gives you just enough attention to keep you hooked, but never enough to actually move forward with anything real or meaningful. They'll send a "hey" text every few days, react to your story, compliment you randomly, just enough to remind you they exist. But when it comes to making plans, showing up, or committing to anything real, it's always vague, always later, always out of reach. It's like emotional clickbait. You keep checking in, hoping this time it'll be different, but they're not. They're just dropping another crumb. The goal isn't connection, it's control. It keeps you emotionally invested, while they stay unaccountable. You get stuck in anticipation and letdown. And even though you're not being treated well, it's hard to walk away, because they never really end it. They just stall you, so you stop chasing the trail. You deserve more than crumbs.